My name is Dr. Salahuddin, working as Associate Professor in Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology, Pharmacy Institute, Greater Noida. In this lecture, I will discuss about the remaining part of the general anesthetics. In the previous lecture, the part 1 of the general anesthetics have already discussed, and the general anesthetics, the part 2, that is basically the intravenous anesthetics, that I will discuss in this lecture. So, first I will remind something that we have already discussed about the general anesthetics. So, general anesthetics that are used for the abolition of all the sensation, and that also we can define the abolition of the sensation, and the analgesia defined as the abolition of the pain, and these are the triad of the general anesthesia that it needs for the unconsciousness, it needs for the analgesia, it needs for the muscle relaxation. So, these are the three important points for using this general anesthesia. So, in inhalational anesthetics, that it refers to the delivery of the gases or the vapor from the respiratory system to produce anesthesia, and pharmacokinetic uptake, distribution and the elimination from the body, and the pharmacodynamics is the Mach value. These are already discussed in the previous class. So, the ideal characteristics of the general anesthetics, these have some important characteristics. The first characteristic, it is the pleasant to inhale, permitting the smooth induction and the emergence of as the ideal characteristics of the general anesthetics. Potent to allow the concomitant administration of high oxygen, and rapid induction and emergence, that is the low solubility, easy to administer and analyze, easily and cheaply prepared in pure form, and it should be stable in storage, and it cannot it should not deteriorate in the some other chemicals with soda lime, stable in the storage with soda lime and flammable, not the metabolized. Act as a specific central nervous system site, that it acts on the it should act on the central nervous system, that it should have high lipid solubility, it should have high log p value, and no cardiovascular or respiratory effects by the general anesthetics, and it should be non-toxic to the organ system, and it also provides post-op pain relief. Now, here in this lecture I will discuss about this general anesthetics, the classification of the general anesthetics. As I have already discussed, these general anesthetics are of two types, that is the inhalational and intravenous. The inhalational, this one I have already discussed, and in this lecture I will discuss about the intravenous anesthetics used as general anesthetic. So, here further it is divided into two parts. The slower acting intravenous anesthetics and the inducing agents. In the slower acting, the dissociative anesthesia example is the ketamine, the opioid, the next category that we can use this fentanyl, and in the benzodiazepines, diazepam, lorazepam and midazolam we can use. In the inducing agents, the most important compounds in this, the inducing agents as intravenous anesthetics is methohexital, methohexitone, thioamylal sodium, thiopental sodium, propofol, etomidate, etc. Now, here there are some ultra short acting barbiturates used as the general anesthetics. So, as these are the intravenous anesthetics, so when it intravenously administered, that it acts ultra short acting. It produces why it is ultra short acting? Because it produces a rapid onset of unconsciousness and the quick recovery, that is rapid onset first and quick recovery. That is the ultra short acting barbiturate. Now, the next is high lipid solubility. The partition coefficient should be high, so that it will cross the blood brain barrier. The log P should be high and the lipophilicity high, and it crosses the blood brain barrier and quickly it will enter into the central nervous system and depress the function, and often in less than 1 minute. And the distribution occurs very rapidly as well as the other parts of the body. And all the barbiturates can cause apnea, coughing, chest wall spasm, laryngospasm and bronchospasm. So, these are the some important examples of the inducing agents, that is the methohexital sodium, thioamylal sodium, thiopental sodium. So, all are barbiturates, all are barbiturates, and all the barbiturates have some specific ring. So, and there is a substitution at which position? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, at the substitution, the fifth points have this substitution, the 2 substitution at the fifth position of at this nucleus, that is the 5,5 di substituted, that is 5,5 di substituted, because there are 2 substitution, one is one group and the second group, one group and the second group. So, here that is why we are calling it as di substituted product. Now, I will discuss one by one. First is methohexital sodium. So, in the methohexital sodium, it is a methohexital sodium, it means it is a sodium salt of methohexital, and it is a short acting barbiturates, means rapid onset of action. The most important thing is it is a barbituric acid derivative. The barbituric acid derivatives also have sedative and hypnotic property, and here we are using this as the general anesthetics because it also have anesthetic activity. Next is methohexital mechanism of action. In the mechanism of action, the methohexital binds with GABA aminobutyric acid, GABA receptors, binds and it will opens the chloride ion channel, gamma aminobutyric acid, chloride ion channel. So, it thereby enhancing the inhibitory action of the GABA in the brain, and this leads to synaptic inhibition, decreased neuronal excitability and the induction of the anesthesia. The next is the important thing in chemistry point, medicinal chemistry point of view, that is the synthesis of methohexital sodium. So, in the starting of the any compound of compound involved in the medicinal chemistry, we have to start from the simpler compound. So, here the starting material for the synthesis of methohexital, we can synthesize this methohexital in the 2 steps. So, in the step 1, the starting material for this one is butane 1 magnesium bromide plus acetaldehyde hydrolysis. So, the first intermediate in the presence of the phosphorus pentachloride, it will give 2-chloro-hex-3-wine, and this 2-chloro-6-3-wine is used in the second step as the starting material with the diethyl malonate. So, here this diethyl malonate and the product obtained from the first step, that is the 2-chloro-hex-3-wine, in the presence of this sodium ethoxide, it will convert it into the again the first intermediate, and in presence of allyl bromide sodium ethoxide, it will convert it and again second intermediate, and in the last step, the very important step, that is the cyclization step. So, in the cyclization, here we are using the methyl urea in the presence of sodium hydroxide, and then it will convert it into the methohexital sodium finally. So, methohexital that we can synthesize in the 2 step. Next is thioamylal sodium. In this thioamylal sodium, there at 5th point there are 2 substitution, that is the CH double bond CH2 and this the next substitution. So, it is a thioamylal is a major is a member of barbiturates, that is thiohydropyrimidines 4,6,1H5H dione substituted by pentane 2-vial, that is pentane 2-vial and and propene 2-enyl group at 5th position. So, that is why we are calling it a 5,5 di-substituted barbituric acid. So, again the complete name of this thioamylal sodium is 5-allyl 5-methyl 1-butyl 2-thiobarbituric acid. And if we compare the activity of this thioamylal with thiopental, so it is a 1.5 times more active than the thiopental, and that is why we are using this in smaller doses. Next is Thiopental sodium, or the another name of thiopental sodium is pentothal, that it is a ultra short acting depressant of the central nervous system, which induces hypnosis and the anesthesia, but not analgesia. Okay. So, it produces hypnosis within 30 to 40 seconds, 30 to 40 seconds of the intravenous injection, and the mechanism of action also it binds with the associated chloride ion channel at the GABA receptor, increasing the duration of the time which the chloride and ionopore is open. So, basically what happens here, it will increase the duration of what? Duration of chloride ion channel opening. So, the concentration of the chloride ion here the increases. Again, this thiopental sodium is administered intravenously for the induction of the general anesthesia for the production of complete anesthesia of the short duration, because it is a short acting barbiturates. It is used for hypnosis, for the control of convulsive state also, that also we can use as anticonvulsant agents. It can be also used in the neurosurgical patient to produce increased intracranial pressure. It does not produce any excitation, but has poor analgesic and the muscle relaxant properties. At small doses, it shown the analgesic and lower the pain threshold. So, this is the therapeutic advantage and the disadvantage of some anesthetic agent. So, basically here there is a therapeutic advantage, disadvantage and the therapeutic advantage of the inhalational anesthetics as the general anesthetics and the intravenous anesthetics like thiopental, ketamine, fentanyl, propofol and so on. And here the inhalational anesthetics, the most important inhalational anesthetics that we are using desflurane, isoflurane and the nitrous oxide. So, this first I will talk about this desflurane. The disadvantage it is must be delivered using a special vaporizer, and the disadvantage of this nitric oxide is it will produce incomplete anesthesia, and the disadvantage is no muscle relaxation, because in the anesthesia we require complete muscle relaxation. So, this is the disadvantage of this nitrous oxide. As I have already told that we are using these general anesthetics in the combination with other drugs and it must be used with other anesthetics for surgical anesthesia, and the therapeutic advantage of this nitrous oxide is a good analgesia, the rapid onset and rapid recovery, and it is a safe that we can use in this as general anesthetics. Now, come to the isoflurane. Isoflurane and the sevoflurane. Sevoflurane have some disadvantage regarding the potential renal toxicity at low concentration, and the sevoflurane causes bronchial smooth muscle relaxation and good for patient with asthma. It also shows rapid onset and recovery. Now, come to the this intravenous anesthetics. This intravenous anesthetics like thiopental. Thiopental disadvantage, that is poor analgesia. So, the ideal characteristics of the analgesics that it produce analgesia. It causes significant nausea, little muscle relaxant and laryngospasm. And the advantage of this all these the barbiturate like thiopental, methohexital are rapid onset and the rapid recovery. Okay. And this is the potent anesthetic agents. Now, ketamine that is also used, this is as dissociative anesthesia, that can the main advantage of this ketamine is a good analgesia. Next is the propofol, that it is a poor analgesia, and the therapeutic advantage, that is rapid onset and not causes nausea. Okay. So, these are the some therapeutic advantage and the disadvantage of the general anesthetic agents. Now, come to the dissociative anesthesia. In this dissociative anesthesia, that in the form of anesthesia, that it can be characterized by catalepsy, catatonia, analgesia and amnesia. So, it does not necessarily involve in the loss of consciousness. does not involve the loss of consciousness and does not always imply the stage of the general anesthetics. The main advantage is that this dissociative anesthetics probably produce this state of interfering with the transmission of incoming sensory signals to the cerebral cortex and by interfering with the communication between the different parts of the central nervous system. Now, here there is a one drug, that is the ketamine, the very important drug as used as dissociative anesthesia. So, in the ketamine basically the ketamine hydrochloride. So, this ketamine hydrochloride is a phencyclidine derivative. It is a phencyclidine derivative and it is described as the unique drug, because this single drug used as hypnotic, analgesic and amnesic effects. That is, no other drugs used as hypnotic, analgesic and amnesic. No other drug used in the clinical practice combine these three important features. So, this ketamine first clinically used in 1970s, because these have combined effects, and it was thought that it might be the perfect anesthetic agents, because this why it is perfect, because it has anesthetic, analgesic and amnesic properties, or amnesic, it shows all these effects, hypnotic, analgesic and amnesic effects. Ketamine is a water soluble molecule and that structurally resembles phencyclidine, and the IUPAC name, it is a 2-chlorophenyl 2-methylamino cyclohexanone hydrochloride. This ketamine, the mechanism of action of the ketamine induced analgesia and the dissociative anesthesia, that is completely unknown, and it will interact with multiple CNS receptor. We cannot stuck on that one receptors, and there is a one hypothesis that the ketamine binds with non-competitively to the phencyclidine recognition site, that is the NMDA, N-methyl D-aspartate receptor. So, it binds with which receptor, that is NMDA receptor, N-methyl D-aspartate receptor, and it exert in addition the ketamine also exert at other sites, because the this ketamine have multiple site of action. It includes also opioid receptor, muscarinic receptor, nicotinic receptor, nicotinic acetylcholine receptor, and the use is, that is the unique feature of this because of the unique feature of this ketamine, it is indicated as a sole anesthetic agent. This is a single anesthetic agent for diagnostic and the surgical procedure that do not require skeletal muscle relaxation, and it is for use best for short procedure. It can be used with additional doses for the longer procedure and is also indicated in the induction of anesthesia prior to the administration of the general anesthetic agents, and it is also indicated to supplement low potency agents such as nitric oxide. The side effects of this ketamine include dreamlike feeling, the blurred vision or the double vision, dizziness, drowsiness, nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, sleep problem. Now, finally, the synthesis of ketamine. This synthesis of ketamine, it can be synthesized using as the starting material, that is orthochlorobenzonitrile, orthochlorobenzonitrile. Nitrile. At ortho position, that is one chlorine is present, that is orthochlorobenzonitrile. This is a cyclopentyl ring, cyclopentyl magnesium bromide, it will convert it into the orthochlorophenyl cyclopentyl ketone, and in the by bromination, first it will convert it into the bromo ketone, and in the presence of methylamine, it will convert it into the important intermediate, that is 1 hydroxy cyclopentyl orthochlorophenyl ketone and methylamine. The IUPAC name, it is not basically you cannot either you want to write the IUPAC name, you can write, and by heating that this intermediate, it will convert it into a ketamine, that is phencyclidine derivative. As ketamine as the dissociative anesthesia. These are the some references. Thank you so much.